Three, two, one.
Good afternoon all, and welcome to the Big Smoke. And for a northerner, that's a rarity. My name is Ian Oakey. I'm just from a little northern town called Hull. You've all heard of the cases of child sexual exploitation in places like Rochdale, Manchester, Barrow, Rotherham and Telford. I could go on. It happens in every town and city within this country. But nobody really knows about Hull. It's the forgotten town. Back in 2019, two girls walked into Humberside Police Headquarters and reported that they have been repeatedly abused by groups of men in the city. The police first dismissed this and actually sent them on the way. But the pressures of these brave two girls and their families continued. They wouldn't let it go. And eventually, Humberside Police decided to do an investigation. This was codenamed Operation Marksman. One survivor who claimed that she was raped by around 150 men. She was chained up, tortured and repeatedly raped, and she was 13. The perpetrator claimed that if she told anybody, that her family would be targeted. Their houses would be targeted. The investigation went on for 2 years while these girls sat in limbo, and during the investigation these girls were continuously raped and abused. Eventually 34 people were arrested. Tens of thousands of pages of evidence, 200 digital devices were seized and suspected through forensic evidence, but no one charge was ever brought towards them. The case itself was closed in June 2021 because it didn't meet the CPS's evidence to say that it was enough to make a claim against the perpetrators. So in other words, they didn't do enough things wrong. Not because they did it, but they didn't do anything as much as they should have done. In my eyes, the CPS and the police are basically saying that these girls weren't worth the chance of prosecution. Because if they didn't prosecute, the police would look bad. Because they didn't get the prosecution that they were aiming for. During the time of this investigation, Hull was the UK City of Culture. Now that makes me think, why did they not pressure? Why did they not pursue it? Would that make Hull look like a town that was invaded by child grooming gangs? You make your own mind up on that one. 5 months after the closure of Operation Marksman, Sky TV made a documentary soap. It was a 5-part series on Sky about the grooming gangs in Hull. That shocked me beyond belief, as it did with all the other people in Hull. because nobody knew that this was actually happening within the city of Hull. Because nobody told us about this. Nobody warned us that there was a possibility of the grooming gang working in Hull. In December 2021, the case was closed because not enough evidence was given. The girls got no proof, nothing. Even though other victims of other survivors came forward through word of mouth through all these survivors, they all came forward. I work now with a group of 6 people that were all involved in Operation Marksman, and none of them knew the other girls. They were all individually targeted. The new investigation started in 2022. This was after I found out about things, and I started a group in Hull called United Hull, because I was so disappointed in everything that had happened. And believe it or not, this all started from my brother's kitchen, where myself, Ian Cooper, who's in the audience today, was stood there and saying, well, somebody should do something about this. Nobody in Hull knew anything about this. Why isn't anybody screaming and shouting from the rooftops saying this is happening? And of course, it was me that was nominated for the one to do something about it. And I have.
Step back out. When you step out, I'm buckling. I'll try and solve it now, guys. 1 minute.
I won't stop. I will continue to fight for the girls of Hull. I continue to speak to them daily. Sometimes it's harrowing, but luckily enough, the girls I've spoken to that are involved in marksmen are all doing good in their lives. They're all surviving. How they do it, I don't know. They're the bravest people I've ever met in my life. And these girls have been raped, tortured, abused since the age of 13, 14, 15. One of the girls, who was 16 at the time, became pregnant by one of her abusers. This pregnancy was terminated. DNA was taken from the fetus and was proved to be one of the persons that she named as an abuser from the age of 13. No charges was ever brought because at the time of her pregnancy, she was 16, age of consent. I'm pleased to say that all the survivors in the operation are doing really well, and I'm really happy, like I just said. I am not taking that as myself, that's done this. They've done this themselves. They're braver than anyone in front of me now. They're the bravest people in this area. I've always said that I cannot change the past for what's happened to them, but I will always do my best to change the future. The children of this country are our future, but if we don't act now, they have no future. We must act now.
Okay, you might not be today, I'm basically going straight after this.
Gentlemen, give it up for Ian Oakey, please.
He saw it, but I'll ring him later. My bad.
2018.
Cheers for that.
In Loxdale, where he was doing some marvellous things, looking after
No
the
problem.
children.
And you.
With a lady that he's going to introduce you to, so I'm going to let you talk about her, because to me, this woman should be canonised. But ladies and gentlemen, give it up for my good friend, Billy Howarth.
Massive thank you guys. So yeah,
Is it better now, guys,
from
signal,
Rochdale and also the founder
internet-wise?
of Fag UK. I'm not going to talk about specifics in cases. What I'm going to do and what I'm here to do today is tell you which are the fuckers who are responsible. That's what I'm going to do today. So for Rochdale, this started 40 years ago in 1960 when Cyril Smith built himself an organisation where it was fine to abuse the children of Rochdale and beyond. Not just in Rochdale, but here in Westminster too. So, I first started this campaign. I'm going to take you on my journey of how I've dealt with this and what I've seen and told you who I think is responsible. I met this lovely lady called Linda Phillips. Believe me when I say, if the statues of here, all these people, she should be one of them. Because for 45 years, she was the only person to stand against the abuse of the UK children. She truly is a British hero. Unfortunately, Linda passed away in 2020. I still find it tough to talk about because she was the bar for me, she was everything to me, and she'll always will be. If it worked for her, none of us, I don't think, would be here today. I certainly wouldn't. I'd probably be dead. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I am a survivor of child sexual abuse. And if it wasn't for this woman, I don't think I'd be here today because I was in some dark place. But I'm not a believer in God or anything like that. But someone sent that lady into my life for a reason, and I can't explain it. But she was my angel. I love the woman. She's not here anymore, but she's here in spirit. She's cheering along with you, she stood here and she'll continue to fight from the grave through me.
Can we give this lady a round of applause for all the work that she did? Linda Phillips, ladies and gentlemen.
But even Linda couldn't have done what she did and picked up the fight that she picked up if it weren't for this guy. This guy was a teacher at Norview School by the name of Martin Deegan. Martin Deegan was the first person to stand up in publicly and say Cyril Smith is abusing boys in Norview School. He stole the paperwork from the headmaster's office. We still have the paperwork today. Theresa May said she lost it. She didn't lose it all. She didn't lose it all. Because Linda wouldn't let them lose it all. Because Linda kept it all and then passed it to me before her death. The first time it was talked about publicly in a big way was through this guy, Simon Danchuk, who wrote the book, Smile for the Cameras. Yeah, boo. Yeah, boo. Because he never said nothing after the book was released. And he's never said anything since the book's been released. So, yeah, he was the one who wrote the book, he was the one who confirmed. He called Linda Phillips a liar. He sacked Martin Deegan as not good enough for a teacher for the school. But these people were the only people who were telling the truth. Simon Danchuk used that and wrote himself a book. But on the back of Linda's campaigning, along with myself and Martin Deegan, we managed to get the Ixer inquiry into Rochdale. The Ixer inquiry was the independent inquiry for child sexual abuse. And this is where the true horrors of Norview were exposed. And Smith Street toilets. I must say that. So there was Norview School and Smith Street toilets. The Director of Education at the time, Diane Kavanagh, this lady took bets on which were the next kid to be abused in the toilets. This was all revealed in the Ixer inquiry, guys. I don't make this up, it's all there for you to read yourself. David Lord Steele knighted Cyril Smith 5 years after knowing he was a paedophile. These are the people who were responsible, because after he found out he was a paedophile, didn't hold him. He was also the leader of the Liberal Democrat Party. He decided to allow Cyril Smith to continue abusing Rochdale boys. And it wasn't just Rochdale boys, there was boys here in Westminster that was also being targeted by these people. These knew, and they could have stopped it. When I tell you accountability and the fuckers who are accountable, this guy is one of them. This guy could have stopped it if he did his job. He didn't. He's responsible for the abuse of Rochdale children. Richard Farnell. Richard Farnell was the council leader of Rochdale, Cyril Smith's best mate. Richard Farnell was accused of lying to the Ixer inquiry. He had to resign his seat. He's dead now, thank God. But he's also one of those people, again, who are responsible. I told you I'm going to tell you all.
Hi,
who are
PJ.
responsible for the abuse
Hope you're
of
well,
Rochdale
mate.
children. This guy is right at the top of the list. Liberal Democrat Paul Ruan. When the abuse of Vice Cyril was reported to Paul, who was the MP of Rochdale at the time, he said, I took it with a pinch of salt. He took the abuse of children with a pinch of salt. Absolutely unacceptable, absolutely accountable, absolutely.
How's the
responsible
signal,
for the
guys?
abuse
And
of
how's
Rochdale
the live, guys?
Sir Tony Lloyd, former Police and Crime Commissioner and former MP of Rochdale. Yeah. So in 2013, Mr Lloyd and Mr Colin Lambert from the Brexit Party at the time, he was a Liberal Democrat at the time and council leader, decided to have a meeting where the full horrors were revealed at Norbury School. From that day forward it was buried. He buried it and he's never spoken about it again until the Ixer inquiry. So again, this man's passed away, we can't hold him to account, but he should have, he should have done while he was alive. We didn't. We missed the trick. Colin Lambert, ladies and gentlemen. I know he was part of the Brexit Party, I can hear Brexit writing shouting at me somewhere, but he was Labour at the time. He was a Labour council leader who turned a blind eye to Rochdale's children being abused. Not just through no view, he also played a prominent role in the grooming gang cover-up as well. So this guy is double jeopardy. This guy needs to be in the dock. He's still here. He should be in the dock along with the rest of them. Jim Dobby, Deputy Leader of Rochdale Council, also former MP for Heywood and Middleton. Again, he's dead now, thank God. But he was also one of those that told Simon Danchuk, when Simon Danchuk stood up about the grooming scandal, they told him, you need to be quiet because it'll have a detrimental effect on votes. That says everything. We'll not cover this grooming scandal because it's bad for votes. Our children meant less than votes. Elsie Blundell, ladies and gentlemen. So the people I've mentioned, Tony Lloyd, Richard Farnell, Simon Danchuk, Elsie Blundell was the
How is it looking, guys, in live?
She's now MP for Heywood and Middleton. She's just been sacked for a councillor role because I've just got her the sack. Just got the sack. And I'm not just going to get her sack, I'm going to take her fucking seat as well. Sorry. So Elsie Blundell, ladies and gentlemen, she stayed silent today. She's one of the people who do everything. She sat in meetings with Tony Lloyd, with Richard Farnell, with Simon Danchuk. She wrote the minutes for Smile for the Camera, yet she's never ever publicly spoke about the abuse of Rochdale. She's accountable. She should be one of the people in the dock. But we all know where it stems from. So in 1986, I'm coming to you, love, don't you worry. Don't you worry. So, has anyone heard about the paedophile information exchange? Yeah, well, it was supposed to have been defunct in 1986. I can tell you today, that's absolutely a lie. That organisation is still here today. If you don't believe me, look into Labour 25. Over 75 Labour MPs, councillors, members convicted for abuse against children. That's a large number for one political party. And that's what's going on. That's Labour 25. Don't take my word for anything I'm saying. It's all checkable. I've just put a lot of time and research into putting it all together. Never get into the nitty-gritty. 3 girls.
Out, guys, over there.
There wasn't 3, there was 49. 9 men convicted. There wasn't 9 men, there was 1,400 men. Many of them still walk around my town today with their head held high. I wish I knew they all were because I'd expose them, whether they'd be charged or not. But there's obviously under the banner. There was 1,400 men who abused the children in my town. Did anyone see 3 Girls TV programme? Yeah. Did anyone see Betrayed Girls? I followed it. So there was a BBC programme called Betrayed Girls where the blame for 3 girls was put on all you. The far right, they said, you're far right and it's your fault that this didn't get dealt with because you came to Rochdale and politicised it. They blamed you. If you don't believe me, guys, search these programs, watch them for yourself. It's there, train girls. So the lady who likes to call herself a whistleblower, Sarah Rowbotham. I have full contact with the three girls named in the Three Girls programme. They're the people who I work with on a weekly basis. One of them three girls have never ever met this lady. Yet she claims to be the saviour of Rochdale. She's a lie. She needs to be. There needs to be an inquiry. She needs questioning. One of the true heroes of the Rochdale grooming scandal was Maggie Oliver, the police officer. She tells us they didn't want the truth to come out, but people like me, people like Ian and the other speakers you're going to see today, we did, and we will get the truth out there.
Yay!
Ladies and gentlemen, Nazir Afzal, and he doesn't deserve a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, because he was the only man at the time. Let me just say how it was. When he became Crown Prosecution Lead for Greater Manchester, he had to check the itinerary of evidence. When he checked the evidence, he seen there was a baby fetus held on ice in evidence of a 13-year-old girl. It was at that point he double-crossed Keir Starmer, who was his boss, and said, no, this is DNA evidence I'm going to pursue. He was told not to pursue because these girls' chaotic lifestyles were the reason for their own abuse. Bullshit. There was child abuse. He told us. You know, he told us.
I'm giving a live a share, guys. One
Sir
sec.
Peter Fahey. Sir Peter Fahey was Greater Manchester Chief of Police. He was the one in the Free Girls programme that you watched. The copper at the table that said, this is a girl's lifestyle choices. This is not for the police to act upon. That's who that is. He must be able to account. But he wasn't. He was giving OBEs and MPs instead. The first inquiry into the abuse of Rochdale came through Labour MP, actually, by the name of Anne Coffey, and she exposed her own party. It's very hard to get these reports, but they're out there if you want to source them. Take nothing what I said for granted. Please go away and check everything I said. Fact check me, because I've done the work. I'm just giving it to you on a plate. Go and have a look. It's all there.
There we go, guys. Now it's shared.
Excuse me, guys. Right, so the first, Andy Burnham says, we've had ICSA inquiry. Well, the ICSA inquiry never covered Rochdale grooming scandal. It covered No View. It covered Cambridge House. It covered Smith Street Toilet. That's 3 scandals already. It's covered them, but it never ever delved into, not just in Rochdale, but right around the UK. ICSA inquiry was told, do not get involved in the grooming gangs. Do not look into grooming gangs. So what Andy Burnham did, he said, let's have an operation review. Let's have a look at a Sherwood review into Operation Augusta. And this is when we actually found out the true horrors of what was happening in my town of Rochdale. But there wasn't 49. It turned out there was hundreds. There was hundreds. Yes, sir, they are. Then they did, we'll have a look at Operation Span. Operation Augusta, ICSA inquiry, never on to Operation Span. And it's covering the same thing, police investigations into the abuse of children. Ladies and gentlemen, of the 3 inquiries I've just shown you, Real Voices by Anne Coffey, the GMCA, Augusta and Span reports, ICSA report, I can tell you now, not one person of authority has been held to account for those 4 reports. Yet in those 4 reports it shows corruption, it shows cronyism, it shows malfeasance, malpractice, and it shows an absolute failure to protect our children. The Rochdale Observer is my local paper. This was about 3 weeks ago. That's the headline.
Guys, there's people here. Look.
Treated as sex slaves. Children raped and abused in hotels, police data suggests. The data didn't tell them. I fucking told them. Sorry, I told them. Many a times I told them 24/7 in Oldham was being used as a pit stop for paedophiles. It's never been busted. It's never been rolled over. They've never checked. So I held a protest in
What are you doing?
St. Peter's Square on the 22nd.
You're not walking, are you? You're fucking communicating. Or camera set up, is it?
Officers woke up Despite Operation Augusta, ICSA and SPAM, officers will not be punished for grooming gang failures. I'm coming to it next, my lord. No one escapes. Ladies and gentlemen, Keir Starmer. Listen, a bit louder because he can't hear you. Keir Starmer was a leader of public prosecutions. He sent he issued Nazir Russell a memo saying these girls' chaotic lifestyles were the reason for their own abuse. Accountable action, accountable action. Ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Smith.
Check the live and check the signal icon it for me.
I said, ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Smith. The former Deputy Prime Minister, the former Home Secretary, and the one who sent the memo to Nazir Russell saying these girls' chaotic lifestyles were the reason for their own abuse. Accountable action. In the dock, go to jail. Ladies and gentlemen, Gordon Brown, the former Brown. No, he must have to hear you. You've got to do it louder than that.
But people saying it's not fine.
Because it was ultimately his decision for the UK's children to be disregarded, abused at the rate of knots, not just in Rochdale.
Shoot the bastard!
This guy should be held to account. This guy should be arrested. This guy should be in the dock.
No, I just checked on somebody else's phone and it's fine.
Guys, I want to thank you for listening to me today. Guys, this is going to go from strength to strength to strength. There might not be hundreds of thousands of people here, and the quantity leads to the quality of people that are here. That's what we're going to focus on. Yeah? The quality of people that are here shows that you have a proper heart and that you actually care. Going forward, I'll be with you with these guys, standing with these guys all the way. Thank you guys, thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Billy Howard. If there was more people in this country like him, we wouldn't have a child abuse problem. Give it up. Our next speaker his name's Anthony Wood. He's got a story to tell. I just want to say something here. So you boys from Birmingham, thank you for coming. Leicester, thank you for coming. I just bumped into a fucking, sorry to swear, some of my friends that are from London, under the underpass going to the pub, right? Listen, listen. Like Billy said, this ain't about amount of people here. It's about the quality. I want to say thank you all for coming. Please stay with us. Yeah, when we leave here, we're marching, handing letters. Yeah. If people that walk away, I don't want them here, right? Because they're only here to get on the piss, and I don't want that, right? All you boys that have travelled down, all the ladies and the families, thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that rant, but it just pissed me off. Right, listen. Right, the next speaker is the founder of NAGA. His name's Anthony Wood. Please give him a round of applause, yeah? Oh, you can do better than that. Listen to this story. Anthony Wood from Telford, ladies and gentlemen, yeah? Hello. Telford, come to Telford, remember that? Well, listen what happens when you come to Telford.
You all right, guys. So yeah, I'm from Telford. I set up NAGA. Let's put it this way, we had some issues. Sorry. Unfortunately, I had to take a step away for a while, and we had some issues and some threats, etc. It's cost me a lot, to be fair. But I wanted to come here today to, because this is important that we all come together for the children. I want to start on the 16th of January this year. Yvette Cooper made a statement in Parliament where they rejected a national inquiry. They then put forward an idea for 5 mini inquiries in different towns and cities. Now, in this statement, she also said that Telford is the blueprint for these inquiries. Now, that shouldn't be treated as true, and I'll go into why. But now, the Telford inquiry, originally, when they were pushed for the inquiry, a letter was issued to the Home Office, and it was signed by 10 people in positions of power, including the crime commissioner, leader of the Liberal Democrats, multiple Labour councillors, head of Child and Family Services, and most notably was the head of the council, a man called Sean Davis. Now, none of these people lost their jobs. None of them. In fact, Sean Davis is now the MP for Telford. And most recently, he abstained from voting for a national inquiry. And he's not issued a statement as to why he's done that. He's been a coward.
You're now a mod in the chat.
Also recently, there's a prolific
moderator.
child abuser, a danger to Telford, who is due to be released. Sean Davis has received multiple emails by members of the public. He hasn't replied to a single email. He hasn't issued a single statement.
Just for this,
Now, in regards to the Telford inquiry,
chat.
the reason why I say it shouldn't be used as a blueprint for nationally is in the Telford inquiry there's a terms of reference. And in this terms of reference, it states that if someone is to make a complaint about a person, an allegation about a person or an organisation, then that person or organisation has a right to reply, and their inquiry will then approach them and name the person who's made the allegation. Now, what survivor is going to want to speak about that to the inquiry? How many people refuse to speak to the inquiry because of that? It doesn't get to the scale of the issue. There were, on the back of this inquiry, there were no prosecutions. Nobody lost their jobs. So please tell me how that is a blueprint for Yvette Cooper.
Head out of the crowd a little bit now, guys.
We need a national inquiry. We need to know what's going on in every single town and city. We need for those people that have been complicit with the abuse of survivors, who turned a blind eye. They need to be prosecuted, or at the very least lose their jobs. And if they're retired, they lose their pensions. And their pension pots should go to every victim and survivor that they failed. All of it. Now, I want to touch on what Billy mentioned earlier about Jackie Smith. Now, there's Jackie Smith and Gordon Brown. Jackie Smith was the then Home Secretary, Gordon Brown the Prime Minister. We all know about the memo that went round that was said that these girls were making lifestyle choices. These children. Now, children can't vote for these people because they can't make a choice. They're not old enough to make a choice. So they can't vote to get these people in power. So how can they decide what they're doing when they're being raped on a daily basis? It's not a lifestyle choice. Their actions and that memo has led to countless survivors being abused, countless victims, countless children, and this could have been avoided. The toll, not just on the survivors, their families. I've met with the families, I've met with fathers, I've sat with fathers for hours upon end and hearing their despair and how they feel. It affects the whole family. And these have all been because of the actions of successive governments. The Tories they're not getting out of this either. They've been just as bad. The mental health services, they don't care. They see survivors as too complex, too complicated. And then I want to get on to another, the people that get forgotten about this, the children that are born out of abuse. I know many survivors I've spoken to, these children are like their guardians, their saviours. They stop them going from further abuse. But these children are born with the same scars and they have the same trauma, and there's no help or support from them, even when they're adults. I want to touch on a case in Telford to show how bad the authorities have been over the years. A father went to the police because his daughter was being abused.
All right,
He pleaded with the police for help. The police response was that we know all about this perpetrator. He's fathered multiple children with multiple underage girls. They did nothing. This same case, this same girl.
Sorry, Anthony. Just in case nobody out there heard that, can you say that again, please, Anthony?
They did nothing. This same girl was then, from this abuse, became pregnant. She went to the social services with her perpetrator when she's pregnant, and she's a child. Again, they did nothing. Where is a professional curiosity?
Yeah, you.
Why weren't questions
Yeah.
asked? I
Well,
spoke
the
to
other end,
multiple
Buffalo,
police
much
officers,
other end.
Yeah, but
be
you
it
have to look at
current serving and
Pillar
retired
bits
officers,
low.
and they use the same
Yeah.
word about
If
these
it's
girls,
11
these
minutes
children.
out,
They were
what you
feral.
can do about that, right? You've got to
How
move
do you
on.
expect these children to be when they're being abused daily, when they're being plied with drugs? Do you think they're going to go to school? They're going to do their homework? They're going to
want
mind
it
their
like
P's and Q's?
1,500,
They're going to be like
at least.
normal children? Do you really think that's going to happen? There was no professional curiosity. Nobody asked why. Nobody asked why they were like this.
Busy. You're going to pub after this, or you're going to
I'm not sure yet. But I'm working.
No, it's a bit of a shorter one for you. I just want to leave it on this.
I'm helping out James.
Children are the most important people in every society.
But fine, you walk around and you
And
fucking
it's
see.
everyone's
I know,
duty
yeah, I've got
to
book back around in a
safeguard
minute.
them,
I've got
including all of us.
Yeah.
To find a good spot.
Together, we will do
Literally, I
what we
tried
can
up
to
a
ensure
flying
these
shit.
failures never happen again and children are safe.
Haven't got a body
And
count
also,
today, they're
I
not
want,
good.
especially in this city more than any, kids
Yeah.
just need to put down their knives as
I'm
well.
always one of the interesting.
I want to say, I want to send my love to my wife and all the other survivors out
It'll be
there.
fine.
You're all amazing people. Thank you all, and God bless.
Come slow. No, take it. Take one.
I'll give it to the police. You get one to the police, right? Do it.
This is the reason I do this.
Give it to someone who's met.
These are my friends. I've got 13 fractures.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you all to bear with us here, right? Because we've got a really, really special lady that's going to talk to you, but she's, for one reason or another, we don't put her face in public, okay? So we're talking about survivors here, for these people to come and talk. So,
Hiya.
this young lady, who we call Lady X, is from Rotherham, and she's got a real story to tell you. So she's going to sit, she's sitting over there, behind that screen, and she's going to tell you a story about what's gone on in Rotherham, and I'd ask you all to listen. So give her a massive round of applause, please, because she's very brave to do this. More time, please, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah? So my name's Jackson. Yay! Say hello to Jackson, everyone.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, listen up, please. After you, young lady.
Hello everyone, I am Elizabeth and I come from a small northern town. Some people may have never heard of it before the day of the 26th of August 2014, when my hometown dominated every news channel, every radio station, every newspaper, and everyone was talking about the day. We become known as having the biggest child protection scandal ever seen in this country. We was known not just nationally but worldwide. My hometown is infamous Rotherham.
Don't let it in.
I am a grooming gang survivor of the Pakistani grooming gangs, and I am one of an estimated 1,500 plus children identified in the Alexis J report into Rotherham. One of those children that not only was abused, trafficked and raped, but was systematically failed on an
The
industrial
one with
scale.
the tea towel.
Those that was paid to protect turned a blind eye blissfully and became complicit in the evil and horrendous abuse of children.
You can tell.
I have always said the only reason they said sorry was because they was caught. brushing this national epidemic under that big carpet they like to have as a belonging. They seem to push the narrative that Rotherham was somewhat a mistake. No, Rotherham wasn't a mistake, it was a conspiracy. Children was fed to the wolves while the perpetrators were allowed to roam free. I was abused over a period of 4.5 years. I won't go into details, but please take a second to just imagine your worst nightmare times 1,000, and you probably still wouldn't get to the place what hundreds of children have experienced. The isolation, the fear, the normalisation of such abuse. I could go on forever, but those feelings are not what an adult faced, it was a child. Children should feel nothing but safety and to live a happy childhood. I have took the consequences of other people's crimes against me since being 14. I am now 37. During my abuse, in just a period of 10 weeks, I was kept in a flat for the purpose to abuse and rape me. During the 10 weeks, my parents contacted the police over 200 times. No action was taken until something changed one day. They decided to take action. They arrested my dad. Not once, but twice. His crime, he tried to get me out of the property that his daughter was getting abused daily in. Looking back now, just that one event as an adult, how is that even right that during that period he was the only one made accountable for my abuse? An innocent man who was going out of his mind took priority for arrest over the abusers. One of my abusers was a woman that preyed on young children to then facilitate the abuse with eye intelligence already gathered on this offender. From 1999, that's 4 years before I became a victim. The intelligence was that this particular offender had set up a fake rape crisis
The Paris
hotline
line
to
party
lure
now
girls
gone, guys.
into exploitation. This was shut down by South Yorkshire Police in 1999. Rotherham Borough Council gave her a taxi contract to pick children up from school. She went under 9 different names. The intelligence around her was to a very high level, but still she did what she did without no consequences. When the J report came out in Rotherham, some people may have felt anger and upset and so many other emotions. I felt relieved. I felt vindicated, but I also knew that finally I was at that label of a naughty child that was responsible for my own abuse. The world knew we were telling the truth. That day of the J report into Rotherham becomes the first step into my journey of becoming a survivor. Today I know I had to fight not only for myself, but for all those that didn't have a voice. In my journey of campaigning, I have been blessed with meeting some amazing people, people that have been through absolute hell, and I look at them and think, how did we do it? How did we survive? We fought against the odds, and here we are once again, being shoved on the back burner. We get media attention for a while and then it disappears. We get false promises from those that can make the changes and then they let us down. The same old vicious circles. Then after all those times, something changed this year. One man in a different part of the world changed the narrative, Elon Musk. He gave us a voice once again. Our stories rose once again. Then we saw a call for a national inquiry, and the government stood in Parliament, told the thousands of survivors and their family, no, your voices and your need for justice and truth won't be heard or given. How is this right, and how can they justify such contempt against us? I stand here today and I am calling, and won't stop calling, for a national inquiry into the abuse and torture of children perpetrated by the grooming gangs. We need this. We need the true extent throughout the country. We only need to know the statistics to have proper data. We need to hold those that failed to account. We need to join the dots and make it what it is, organised crime. We need to see people being compelled to speak. We need to see action, not only for us that have suffered, but for this country's children. They are our future, they should be safe and never be faced with such evil. I just want to say a huge thank you to every single person who stood out here today. You took part in making a stand for the children of this country, but you also gave a little bit of hope to every single survivor in this country that their voices will keep being heard. It is my aim now. It It's my aim now to educate others and make a difference, locally, nationally and globally, with no thanks to the police, professionals, schools and social services, who also prevented me accessing education. They were complicit in my abuse as hundreds of meetings were held, reports written and child protection referrals made. The number one opening statement in most meetings was a countdown to my 18th birthday, and then no one had a legal obligation. Just think about that. Out of the 4.5 years of abuse due to missing and destroyed paperwork, only one perpetrator was sentenced. He was sentenced to 9 years in 2018. By 2020, he was allowed to go to open prison. He did just 2.5 years in a closed prison. Licence conditions was granted that he must not come to Rotherham again. Just 8 months after he was released, he was seen just half a mile away from my home. He is now being recalled. The system does not work, it is broken. We must all stand together and demand that this change and the law is properly implemented for the children.
It should be alright now, guys.
We must see an end to this national epidemic. Thank you all for listening and God bless you all.
That's why we're here today, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of survivors here in the crowd, and that's one of them there. She's a very brave lady. So let's hear it again, please. Please, thank you.
You're not great.
You got 2,000, that's amazing.
It was not. People saying
The
it's
next
not great.
speaker
It's way
is a
better
young
than
lady
over there.
named
Yeah, it's
Gemma
better here
Jones.
than
Well,
over
it's still a
there.
bit bad. It's fluctuating.
Sorry,
Have you got your other phone on you?
it's right, Sydney Jones.
What do you want to do?
Just check the live.
Please listen to her story, yeah?
We're just checking it now on another phone, guys.
This is my first time telling
It's
my
like 5 times better
story,
quality
so I'm
connection
very
here.
nervous, but I'll be okay.
Look at that.
How is it looking?
That's alright, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, look at the number. Look, 2,000.
Yeah.
Right, 2,000's amazing.
People saying it keeps buffering.
Yeah, you can see it drops to 1,500.
Look back with me.
2,000.
Yeah.
No, just keep looking at the number.
Almost 14 years ago, my parents heard their precious 5-year-old daughter say that she had licked her half-brother's bum and white stuff came out. On a quiet Sunday morning of June 9th in 2011, my brother, who was 12 at the time,
Guys, I will be posting a video as well, guys, of today.
After I told my parents about this, 4 days later on the Thursday, they reported this to the police, not knowing what else to do. Wasn't that a mistake? When I was being interviewed about this incident, my parents had to sit outside the interview room where they heard every single word of what I had been through and what I was made to do because the walls were so thin. Months later, my father found out on a phone call with the police about a previous incident involving my brother. Most mothers and fathers will think the same thing when a police officer refers to a previous incident. My God, my son has been abused. That was their concern, that was my parents' concern. And they were wrong. In November of 2006, my brother was at his 7-year-old friend's house, all playing with his friend, who was 7, and his 3-year-old toddler brother.
Right now, multitask.
His friend's brother walked into the room and discovered them all committing fellatio on each other. And my brother had instigated this. My brother abused a 3-year-old child before he abused me, and my dad had no idea. We spoke to Norfolk County Council about this.
You know,
my dad...
a small update. You've got me on business in Leeds.
Yeah. Norfolk County Council did reply to us. My father did not have parental responsibility over his son, as he was divorced from my brother's mother, and so anything that my brother did, my dad wouldn't know about. We submitted a complaint to the Ombudsman demanding answers and demanding an apology from me for the council and social services causing my sexual assault. Not only this, but they would put my friends in danger when they would come round.
Talk about it then, guys.
The council got back to us again. They refused to issue me an apology because they don't think it would have made a difference if my parents knew. I would have been sexually assaulted either way. I have not received justice for what happened to me, and I will never get the justice that I deserve and what those other children deserve. Thank you.
Oh, it's hard.
14 years later, it's time to hold the council accountable.
What's that, guys?
I speak directly
My friends.
to Paul Coroner and Chris Heisman, the two people who refused to apologise to me. You are both an
Let's ignore it for a
embarrassment.
minute, guys.
I have it in writing, black and white, that you don't think a 5-year-old girl deserves an apology because of your failures. You are both responsible, not only for a little girl being sexually assaulted by a big brother, but a young girl losing the person she held closest. I haven't seen my brother since it happened. Growing up, I would hold his photograph and I would cry. I would ask my parents where he went. I even asked them whether he had died. I don't know how many single fathers are listening, but every single parent should know if their children are at risk. We always tell our children to be safe in the big wide world. Don't take candy from strangers. Don't go somewhere alone with a stranger, and always keep your wits about you.
Go on, mate. Sorry guys, this is a number independent journalist.
But sometimes we don't know
God,
the
I'll
threat
be
we allow
welcome
into our own home. The threat could be staring you right in the face, telling you, I love you, Daddy, but meanwhile sexually abusing your little daughter right under your nose.
Ear spit down,
Between
Mr.
September
BB.
2023 and 24, there were 3,870 sexual offences in Norfolk. 1,120 victims were between the ages of 11 and 17, and 400 were 10 or under. However, out of the 2,824 suspects that were identified, 560 were of secondary school age. 131 were of primary school age. 131 primary school children raped or sexually assaulted someone in 1 year. This is a statistic that needs investigating, not just for the welfare of their victims, but also for the perpetrator themselves. Children taking an interest in sex at a very young age, committing vile acts against others, is often a sign of serious abuse or negligence inside the home, and we shouldn't look away from these facts. We need justice for every single abused child. We need to stop offering a slap on the wrist for those caught with child abuse content, trying to meet up with children for sex
Right,
and
Mr.
abuse
BB,
as
you
a
can
whole.
go for this
Thank
live.
you.
Sorry. I don't have a hat.
This is why we started it. I've been told that their process has been finished. But please don't let them disrupt what we're doing, yeah? Please. Some of them might even support us, I don't know, but just ignore them. Yeah, but mate, listen, we just don't need the egg, alright?
Okay, hello guys. So I have the honour and privilege of announcing this next speaker. Alan, like myself, has campaigned for decades after decades. Like myself, is also a survivor of abuse. This guy has done so much to unveil the abuse, not in vitro mouse. If it weren't for this guy and the people who were with him, we'd never know about it. So please give him a nice round for Alan Murray, ladies and gentlemen.
I can feel myself welling up before it even started. It's very, very difficult for a child abuse survivor to stand in front of people and tell him how they were tortured as a child. This little boy you see on this picture, look at his eyes. This little boy you see is Alan Merritt, the guy standing before you today. The little boy could not speak out. He was beaten, he was abused, he was punished. He was psychologically, physically and mentally tortured by state institutions. Government interference in child abuse. If I said to you, when they talk about numbers, it's off the Richter scale. 400 million children abused worldwide. 8.5 million in this country. The children's home that I was in goes back to the 1800s. 1800s. where the poor children from the Kensington workhouses were sent to Beecham to work. We colonialised the world on child abuse. We sent our children to all four corners of the world. We've never done anything about grooming, trafficking, satanic ritual abuse, or historic children abuse. Never. Not one politician will stand up in Parliament and in saying chamber, we need a public inquiry. This children's home had 900 children in it. Beecham in Banstead, Surrey, not too far away from where we are now. They used to torture children in the bathrooms. The bathrooms were waterboarded. You see this big wall behind you at Buckingham Palace? Walk round the corner. You don't need diplomatic cars to go out the front gate like Prince Andrew did. He came out them side gates and walked over to Grosvenor Place and Belgravia, where Kew Stark had a basement flat. And there was many people. Melanie Shaw, I will speak up for Melanie Shaw. Other people might not. She can't speak for herself because she's on licence. She's been told to shut up or she will go back to prison. We have 3,000 political prisoners in prisons today for speaking about the state interference in child abuse. Make it clear. Let me read you some statistics. And if you sinks in, but this is Margie. Now you saw a picture of myself. Hang on a minute, let me see if you saw a picture of my, look. That image says it all. Children are doing that this very moment. They're putting their hand up to their abuser and they're saying, stop! Stop hurting me! Stop! One in 4 women have been raped or sexually assaulted since the age of 16. 1 in 6 children have been sexually abused. 1 in 18 men have been raped or sexually assaulted since the age of 16. The Crime Survey of England and Wales, the CSEA, estimated that 1 in 5 adults aged 18 to 74 is experienced at least one form of child abuse, whether emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, or witnessing domestic violence or abuse before the age of 16. 8.5 million people. Many cases of child abuse remain hidden. Around 1 in 7 adults who called the National Association of People Abused in Childhood, the NAPAC, helpline in the last year alone, had not told anybody about their abuse before. They were too frightened. Their dignity had been taken. They took their innocence away. In the year of ending in March 2019, Childline delivered 19,847 counselling sessions to children in the UK, where about the primary concern was 1 in 20 of the sessions resulted in referral to external agencies. On the 31st of March in 2019, 49,570 children in England and 4,810 children in Wales were looked after by their local authority because of the experience and the risk of abuse or neglect. Around half
Simon and his team is over there, guys.
Experienced abuse before the age of 16. Also experienced domestic abuse. The later in provide component to 13% of those that did not experience abuse before the age of 16. When I was 4 years of age, my abuse started at home. My father took a leather belt to a 4-year-old child. Our streets were the playground, wooden posts, jumpers on the floor, goalposts at them. We all played teams on the street floor and played single player Tommy. We made our own together. We stood outside pubs 4 in the middle of the night until CCOs came into the
Stressing that minute, guys.
social workers in my day, they were called child care officers. They didn't care about us. They had no either at all. This is
the heavens will open again soon, I think, guys.
This is the primary school in Beecham. The one that I told you goes back to the 1800s. They told me and my brother, you had to smile in this picture. If you didn't smile, you would be punished. You'd get beaten and abused. You had to smile. These pictures that I'm holding up in front of you, they are real life. This is actual true. This is what happened to the children. Look at our eyes, it's all in the eyes. My eldest sister Anne, 5 years my senior. I used to call her Mummy Anne because she looked after me. Mummy Anne, look at her eyes, people. Look at the eyes of these children. The torture and the torment. This is what they used to do. They used to put you in shorts. These shorts, you look like an orphan. You look like you don't belong anywhere. Your clothes had labels in them. You was labelled an orphan. They would call you a retard. I couldn't read or write when I was 13 because I had abuses. 7 abuses in Beechhome I had, 7. Out of 4 cottages that they placed me in. They'd slap the back of your legs until it was red raw. And then they would put you in acid baths. They would put you in baths with Vim. They would put you in baths with bleach. They would use carbolic soap on you. They put carbolic soap in my mouth and said, we'll wash your mouth out with soap. Stone you. They use floor scrubbing brushes and they tore the skin off your back.
It's another independent journalist
The acid
speaking
soap
now,
that
guys.
they used on you. Burn you. They use you in the dormitories. When they talk about race, it's all part of the political narrative. We sat around the same dining room table with different colours and creeds of children from all over the world, of all different colours. They were eating the same food as us. If you didn't eat it, it was put before you again the next day and forced you to eat it. They abused the same children in the dormitories, in the bathrooms, in the torture chambers. 4 of my family abused in Beechhome, Banstead, Surrey. 4 of them, 2 sisters and another brother. This little boy
Even super chats will help, guys.
With other children from the children's home. They can't tell their story. I'm telling the story. There's a picture of a guy called Whiteman. He was a school teacher. I had a couple of abusers in the school. He would chase you around the pocket. The picture I showed you of me in shorts. You own nothing. You didn't even own an Anki. You was a child in an orphanage. He'd chase you around the corners of the playground, get hold of you, and he'd rifle through your top pockets, knowing full well that you did not possess anything. He was rifling in your pockets just to fill you. The perverse man went on to a place called Shirley Oaks. I can assure every single one here, Beechhome was far worse than Shirley Oaks. Save our children, everybody!
Guys, they are now going on the march. But now we'll have a body cam on for that.
What can I say about that? Listen, we're now going to march to the Home Office. We want you all to join us, yeah? Please don't go away. I know we ain't got great numbers here, but come, just join us, walk into the Home Office. It's only a little minute, it's not hours and hours, it's half hour at the most, yeah? We're going to hand in letters on the way to the Department of Health and Social Care, the Department of Education, the CPS, and we'll end up at the Home Office. The Department of Social Care and the CPS, we won't be passing. We were originally meant to be passing on the route, but the council decided to dig up the road so we can't go down. So, but we will be handing them in still. We will be taking photos of the people handing them in. Come to us with fucking hell, march with us to the Home Office, please. Yeah? Don't go away. Yeah. Listen. Together we are stronger for our children. All right. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your support.
Ladies and gentlemen, while we're here, see these 2 people on my right, Phil, lovely Karen. First of all, can you give these 2 people a massive round of applause, please, because they've done so much work to do with it.
before we march, I want to thank all the stewards, all the security. These people have all done this. They're volunteers today. They don't want no money. Yeah, we have fed them. Karen's made them sandwiches. Auntie Karen. But yeah, just I want to thank you all. Thanks a lot. Yeah. All you people that are reporting on it, thank you for coming. We are not going away. I promise you, we will get stronger and bigger.
Right, are we ready to go? Where are we going?
There was an incident earlier.
Well, read it, mate, you know.
Protest, we're trying to get legislation better to protect our children. Children of all colours, creeds, races or religions. There's too much child abuse going on. People need to be held accountable for it, and the government in particular needs to get better legislation, better protection for the children.
What effect do you think this protest will have marching through London? Do you think members of the public will take notice of you guys here today?
I sincerely hope they do. At the end of the day, it's just for the children. It's simply about children that are suffering.
And protecting
children
them.
That are dying.
And protecting them, you know, that's all it's about.
Children are taking knives into school.
Knowing that they're safe.
There is child abuse, there is cover-ups, there are grooming gangs. Children are suffering in their thousands and families are suffering in their millions because of the misery. If we can't protect our children, we can't protect anyone, and I hope everybody takes notice of what we're doing today.
Yeah.
Sure. How do you want the UK government to respond to you guys? Do you think they'll take notice of you guys marching through Westminster?
Well, I sincerely hope they do. As I say, we're here to make the government listen to us. The government needs to talk to people, and the government needs to step up.
Yeah.
We really do need to step up for protection of children.
Agreed.
Pretend Keir Starmer's watching the stream now. What's your message to him?
You don't want to hear my words.
The message to the Prime Minister is simply, as I said, to step up and better legislation, tougher sentences for child abuse,
I want your kids.
better checks on
I want
children.
your kids to be safe.
My
grandchildren, I was going to bring them today, but I didn't because I go on YouTube. I don't want to put them in danger, people knowing me.
Thank you very much.
Oh, my family are always at risk. Me doing what
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Like more online trolls I get.
How can you have a counter protest?
Don't get me started on that.
Peter,
yeah. Yeah. Go about a counter. Palestine.
Did you go there?
No, here. They came up here.
I saw it.
I liked it.
Yeah, same.
Get it. Do you get any?
Yeah, I got a bit of footage.
Send it to me.
Yeah.
I'll put that as